All right. Good evening, everyone. The time is 4:01 p.m., so I'll call to order the Wednesday, November 20th meeting of the Capital Area Transportation Authority Board of Directors and ask our secretary to please call the roll.
Karen Swapstein, Kelly Blackwell,
Here.
Phil DeChain,
Here.
Shannon Drahan, Mark Gardner,
Here.
Derek Milo,
Here.
John Crush, Maggie Sanders, Jack Schmidt,
Here.
Eric Sands,
Here.
Nathan Triplett,
Here.
Stephen Ben.
Here.
All right, with the quorum present, we'll proceed with our agenda this evening, beginning with our first public comment opportunity. This is the time we set aside during each of our meetings to take comment on any agenda items that folks may wish to speak to. We ask that you please consider filling out a blue card that are available outside the entrance there to assist our secretary, and that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. We'll have a timer to assist you with that. I'll call the speakers in the order in which I've received their cards and then ask if there's anyone else who wishes to offer public comment at this first opportunity on agenda items. I have not had any cards submitted in advance this evening, so I'll just ask the room, is there anyone who wishes to offer public comment at this first opportunity on agenda items? All right, seeing none. We'll move on to our next agenda item, chair's comments. I have just two items this evening, well, I suppose 2.5. The first is to note that our colleague, John Prush, is unable to be with us this evening and requests an excused absence. So I would ask if there's a motion to approve that absence. Moved by Derek, seconded by Phil. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. And we will move on. My second logistical note for the board, we are joined by one of our colleagues remotely this evening, Eric. And Eric, just for your edification, you're welcome to participate in the conversation. Just go ahead and pipe up. But since you're not physically present, you can't vote. So don't worry about voting. And then lastly is to note, as I'm sure you've all noticed, that we have a new face around the table, our new representative from Meridian Township, Stephen Vagnozzi. And I wanted to give you a chance before we got any deeper in the meeting, besides to say welcome, to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself.
I'm Steve Vagnozzi. I have lived in Meridian Township since 1976. I have been exposed to public transit from the young age of 5, when my dad took me on one of the last rides on the Gratiot streetcar in Detroit. I am also active in intercity passenger rail advocacy, and I have served on the Transportation Commission in Meridian Township, where we worked extensively and effectively with the administration of CATA.
Well, welcome. We're very glad to have you serving on the board and look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
My final item is just an informational note. So with Steve's appointment, we are just one member down from having a full complement. And earlier this week, Mayor Shore did forward Chelsea Dollar's name to the city council for consideration to fill the final vacancy on our board representing the city of Lansing. Chelsea is the projects coordinator for the Lansing EDC, and assuming all goes well, we're expecting council to approve that appointment, and we'll have a full complement starting in December.
Yes.
All right. That concludes the chair's report. I'll hand it over to Brad for his chief executive officer's report. Brad.
Mr. Chairman, Steve, welcome. I enjoyed our time yesterday and appreciate, I've known Steve my entire tenure at CATA with him serving on the Transportation Commission and have enjoyed his insights. So welcome. First up, I first want to thank the public. During the election, the CATA millage was supported at 69.4%. I am very appreciative of the support that the public gave us. What you may not know is that all precincts were positive. I believe that is a great milestone for us. In addition to the public, I need to thank the employees for the work that they do and the service that they do. to get that vote. That's where the public and our employees meet on the street, and the public has spoken about renewing that through 2030. And thank you to the board and their leadership for the direction they have provided for us to be able to do that. So thank you again. Secondly, Veterans Day, as we have done in the past, we honor our veterans. We have 39 veterans that work for CATA. One's walking through the door right here. Mr. President, we're talking about veterans and their service. Thank you for your service. We have 39 at CATA. We have 6 at E-Tran. And what we have done is provided them a lapel pin based on their branch of service. And then they get a 8 hours of paid leave for their service. And we give them that letter and thank them. So very appreciative. And there's the president's pin right there, U.S. Army, correct? Correct. All right. Next up is Silver Bells, Friday, November 22nd. We have the Caterpillar in the parade. Those of you that would like to march in the parade, interested in doing so, I ask you to be at 500 South Washington Square by 5:45 p.m. We've always had a number of employees, board. We even have Robin's husband and her daughter march in the parade, and very proud to have them continue to do that. So that is Friday for the big annual Silver Bells celebration. Number 4, since our last meeting, well, right around our last meeting, we launched the mobile pay app on October 17th. Thank you, Lolo. Since then, we've had 3,400 people sign up for accounts. We've had 1,400 transactions. We are thrilled that the technology is working. We've done soft launches on this and the CATA rides, which I'm going to talk about next. And a soft launch is that we want to make sure the technology and the communication and what happens when this happens, bugs worked out before we do a heavy marketing effort and promote this. So things are going very well. Again, it's called CATA Mobile Pay, that can be downloaded on any device and is working well if you buy tickets ahead of time. You can also get those through the transit app, which we've used for some time. So it's getting all interconnected and is exciting. And again, CATA Rides, which is the micro transit service to 3 areas that have not been served by transit, launched softly on November 12th. And we have been monitoring that. We've got a couple of things that we want to work out. We want to tie that into other technology like the transit app. And we will, in the next couple of weeks, be talking about a more public launch where we encourage people, and you'll see coming up that we'll be giving free rides and other things to encourage people to test that out. Finally, yes. Finally, my report on the E-Tran side, and unfortunately, the E-Tran chair is not here. Congratulations to the E-Tran board, who at their meeting last week passed their regional coordination plan, which is really a gesture to this board on their desire to move forward on greater coordination in the next 12 months, including possible millages, and we will be discussing that in the future. This was a big step for that board. That vote was carried 7-0, and I wanted to report that. That's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Brad. Questions or comments for Brad on his report? Bill?
Brett, I'd like to say that 69% support for the voters and very healthy level of support in Meridian Township as well reflects the public's confidence in CATA. It wasn't that many years ago that CATA was making front page news and none of it was good. And this board and hiring you before I came on, and your leadership and essential reorganization of CATA made a difference. I think that the public strongly believes in the mission of CATA and is confident that it's being managed well and with good fiscal restraint, and that 69% reflects the public's confidence in CATA. So Congratulations to you and the team and to the board for the direction that CATA has taken the past few years.
Thanks, Phil. Other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, if I could,
Brad.
my reaction to that, I'm very appreciative, but I stand on that. The employees that you have, the public that provided that input, your leadership at those jurisdictions, and that communication is really what has made this a great process. So we share in it together. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Brad. Commissioner Grebner can check me on this if I have it wrong, but when I perused the election results quickly, I believe not only was that the overall figure, but the millage prevailed in every one of the precincts in the service territory as well, which is, at least in my mind, perhaps more impressive than the overall number. So, all right. If there's no other questions on Brad's report, then we'll move to our proposed consent agenda, which this evening includes 8 items for the board's consideration. Those are the approval of the minutes of the October 16th, 2024 board meeting, the approval of the treasurer's report for September 2024, the Celebrate the Traditions of the Season Holiday Free Fare campaign, insurance renewals, the purchase of large buses from New Flyer, the overhead door preventative maintenance and services contract, the drain cleaning preventative maintenance and services contract, and finally, the CATA Rides Free Fare promotion. Does any member of the board desire to have any of these consent agenda items removed to the discussion agenda? Shanna.
Could we remove item E, purchase of large buses from New Flyer?
Will do. Any other items to remove from the consent agenda to the discussion agenda? If not, I would ask for a motion to approve the balance of the consent agenda, moved by Derek, seconded by Jack. All those in favor of approving the balance of the consent agenda, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That motion carries. The consent agenda is approved, which brings us now to our discussion agenda, beginning with former consent agenda item E, the purchase of large buses from New Flyer. Shanna, you asked to have this removed from consent to discussion. Would you like to start?
Yeah, I just wanted to have Brad or Andrew talk a little bit about the decision on hybrid versus electric. I know we talked about it when we did when Andrew gave his presentation last month and some of the supply chain issues, but given that we have had a lot of conversations about the direction on that, if you can just kind of speak to that.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, and this is a very large purchase. Andrew, could I have you come to the podium, please? The presentation was provided last month by Andrew and in so fresh that I think it would be appropriate that we pull Andrew back on how we made this decision and shed some light on it, you know what I'm saying? I had no choice.
Thank you.
You're not-
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the question. Yes, this is a very large purchase. So there's a few reasons why we're pursuing hybrid buses. First and foremost, we are no strangers to the hybrid technology. We were the first, I believe, in the state to use it, buying hybrid buses in 2006. That technology has come a very long way since then. We are eager to pursue buying fully electric buses. In fact, we have 2 on order now. But for a number of reasons, which I will get into, this purchase, in order to keep the fleet replacement schedule moving, and because of how many buses we can buy, hybrid was elected by the staff. With respect to all electrics, they are significantly more expensive. In fact, I believe this board approved 2 40-footers at a price of just over 1.3 million apiece. The lead times are extensive. We have Jeff Butler, our sales rep from New Flyer, on the phone. We're looking at 14 to 16 months on an electric bus. And the other thing is, in order to make service, we're finding from other properties, when you look at an average, it takes 1.5 electric buses to do the service of a straight diesel or a hybrid. So you need significantly more to make the regular service. We are open to buying electrics in the future, but to keep the schedule, moving forward, we went with hybrids.
Other questions? Phil?
What is the difference in a standard diesel bus and a hybrid bus in terms of the miles per gallon that bus will consume.
So when we're talking about buses, the numbers are significantly smaller than you're used to in a car. So in a typical straight diesel bus, we get around 4.5 to 5 miles per gallon. A hybrid is about 5.5 to 6.5,
So about a 15 to 20% increase.
approximately.
Other questions? Andrew, I have two that are frankly sort of leading questions, but I think it illustrates the point that some of this conversation has been around. Does staff, in thinking about the board's adopted policy that we will do a complete fleet transition to zero emission vehicles by 2035, see these interim purchases as in any way conflicting with that? In other words, we have these buses now. That doesn't necessarily mean that the authority is not on track to hit that goal a decade from now. Is that a fair assessment, do you think?
Thank you. Yes, that is a fair assessment. We are very much aware of the goal. We are trying to get there, but we want to do so in a responsible way that ensures we make service. What's unique about this technology, I should point out, and I think it's in the action item, these buses have the ability to use up to 40% of their day in full electric mode. So much of their service will not emit any emissions because they have that capability. But with respect to your question directly, we are still on track. We are being mindful of what other properties are experiencing. There's also other technologies with respect to hybrid and hydrogen. But so EV is not the only alternative. We are eager to get our EV buses in 2025 and use them on our routes. But for right now, we just see this as a bridge to continue replacing the fleet.
Thank you. And my second question before I go to Steve is just to reiterate the procurement point. If money were no object and the board was so inclined to try and find 9 40-foot all electric buses today, would that even be logistically possible given the order backlogs that exist and the number of authorities that are competing over the ability to get these buses built and on property?
So thank you for the question. The electrics are significantly longer lead time, but all buses, because there's really only 2 OEMs left in the United States. Nova Bus is ending their participation in the US market this year. And the remaining 2 OEMs are very much under pressure to produce buses of all fuel types. But the electric vehicles right now do have longer lead times of up to 16 months. There's a lot of back order on the battery components themselves, but other components as well, seating, aluminum, etc. There's a lot of pressure on the OEMs, and they've been very good in working with us. Admittedly, 9 buses, though it's a big order for us, we're a relatively small order for a lot of these for these purchases. So I want to thank New Flyer and our maintenance team and our union in helping us make the decision.
Thank you. As I said at the outset, I acknowledge both of those questions were somewhat leading in nature. But I think it's probably the case. I'll just speak for myself, and I think it's true for most of us. If we had a magic wand, I think that most of the members of the board would prefer to see us be able to achieve that fully zero emission goal faster than not. However, there are just market realities, expense realities, lead time realities, and I appreciate the way that the staff has looked at that long-term goal, but thought thoroughly about how do we make this work in reality, given the demands of the authority, given the demands of our budget, and given the market realities. So thank you for being thoughtful about this and making sure that we get there, but get there in a way that lets us do the job we have to do. So, Steve.
Question. What is the life cycle for your existing diesel and hybrid buses? If it's,
No, that is a very good question. So our large buses are what's considered to be heavy duty transit buses.
and that's what the question was.
They have a 12-year or 500,000 mile life cycle, whichever comes first. Our average fleet age, as I pointed out last month, was around 7 to 8 years old. We do have buses that are hybrids and diesels that are approaching 18 years old.
Mr. Chairman,
Please,
you would expect me to have one last comment. Thank you.
I would, yeah.
You know, anytime service goes down or the potential service goes down, whether it's weather, whether it's staffing shortages, capacity issues, I notify this board through the chairman. That's a commitment that I've given to you and we take very seriously. We've been challenged over the last couple of years with some real events that have brought service down. I run staff pretty hard, and when we took this commitment on, the one thing that we were not going to trade for it is the degradation of service. And I cannot commit to you today, even if we could get those electric vehicles on base, whether they would be able to do the service we have on the street right now. And we owe that to the public and I owe that to you. So we want to get these vehicles in, test them. We want to see what the battery life is. Do we have to replace them mid-route? And then we have a plan then. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Brad. Bill?
I appreciate the zero emission goal that we've set. However, that's only in the bus. There's a lot of emissions that are being created right now to create the electricity. And until we get to a world where we have large solar farms or find a safe, clean way to produce nuclear power instead, or whatever the long-term solution is, we get it from the bus, but there's other emissions going there. Nonetheless, climate change is real, and we've got to take it seriously as a board, considering how much fuel this authority burns. The other consideration has got to be a fiscal one. I bought an electric car a year ago, and it's great. I like it, but I'm not saving that much money when you could take the cost of charging, particularly public chargers. If I'm paying 25 cents a kilowatt hour in public charger, I would be better off buying gas for the same miles, because you really got to get your electric rate down 10 to 12 cents per kilowatt to make the electric car cheaper than a gas car. We'll have to find the same economies of scale with our bus fleet as well, to find out what the rates we can get, because this could end up costing us considerably more if we don't get very good rates for the electricity. Thank you.
Any further discussion, Steve?
The hybrid buses we're talking about now, the 9 new ones. Can you, or has New Flyer provided an estimate of how that will increase miles per gallon versus our current hybrids? I mean, these are going to use less gas than from what I'm hearing, these are going to use less gas than current hybrids. So we are making an incremental improvement.
That is correct. So just so I'm clear, your question is, what is the miles per gallon increase on these hybrids versus our existing hybrids? I believe it's about a half 1 mile per gallon. The technology has come quite a long way. But again, the real benefit and what really piqued our interest here was the ability of these vehicles that are before you tonight to run on full electric power, and not just a hybrid throughout its route.
Shanna?
I think the final thing I just want to say, so I really appreciate this, is, thinking system wide too. And Brad and I were talking about this sort of, what are all the different ways, not just our buses, but, all of our vehicles, what are we doing to electrify our buildings? Where are we thinking about energy efficiency and renewables and all of those things that feed into not only our climate footprint, but the costs. And also part of that is how we are working with our utility on those cost structures. Because obviously, like for my electric vehicle, when I charge it at home, I save a lot of money. But if I'm doing all public charging, I agree, it's not so much. So I think this is all part of a big system. I know you guys are working on that. I really, I think our goals are fantastic, and I'm excited to see us going after that. But yeah, I think we're going to have to adapt as we go. I mean, there's going to be grid issues and all sorts of things we're going to have to keep managing year to year. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Any further discussion? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve the purchase. Moved by Derek. Is there a second? Seconded by Shanna. Any further discussion? Last call. All right, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the purchase, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That motion carries. The purchase is approved, which brings us to our second and final discussion agenda item this evening, the approval of a real estate, sales agreement for the purchase of vacant land in downtown Lansing. Brad?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When we looked at the Greyhound building, and toured that and then made the offer on it and brought it to this board, we also started looking at the vacant property on the north side. There are actually two parcels there on the north side of the building, completing that half block in between the Greyhound building and essentially the CTC across the street. We asked Andrew, who is leading this project, and our real estate agent, Jeff, who you're going to meet shortly, and our attorney to approach the owners to see if there was a way that we could acquire that property and put this entire half block together. Andrew, if you would go ahead and introduce Jeff, and I believe Norb is on the phone line as well, and I'll let you take it away. Go ahead.
That's correct. That's correct. Thank you. Jeff Ridenauer is with Colliers International. He's been helping us with both the purchase of 511 South Washington, the former Greyhound facility, and also the vacant lots. And Norb Madison with Fraser Trebilcock is joining us virtually as well. Jeff, would you talk a little bit about the timeline and how we got to where we are with these vacant lots, please? Sure. So just a little background, sorry for that. We had asked Jeff, as Brad mentioned, to engage the seller or the current owner of the vacant lots. There's actually two lots there. One has frontage on both Washington and Lenawee, and the smaller of the lots has frontage only on Lenawee. And all total, when you combine the two, it's 0.17 acres of land. So relatively small. The lots have been in the same family since the mid 80s. In fact, I believe the first lot was purchased in 1985. As Brad mentioned, we had asked Jeff to contact the seller to see if they might be interested in selling. They indicated to Jeff that they received a number of offers over the many years, and none of them really kind of piqued their interest. They weren't interested. We took a look at the SEV value and made an initial offer in a purchase agreement that was dated September 30th. That initial offer was $87,290, or approximately $12 per square foot, and they refused. Instead, the seller countered at the price you see before you, $120. After some discussion, as well as talking with legal counsel and Jeff, we thought that was a fair price. We've also engaged a local appraiser, and though the appraisal is underway as we speak, we did get a verbal from the appraisal company that they think it will appraise out. It is also subject to environmental review, which is underway, and we anticipate having that back before Christmas, the week of Christmas, the environmental, I should say. So that's kind of the background, and that's where we're at.
Thanks, Andrew. Questions from board members on this item? All right. It appears not. In that case, if there are no questions, I'd ask if there's a motion to approve the real estate sales agreement. So moved by Shanna, seconded by Jack. Any comments or discussion? Mark?
Just, is there a potential if we didn't pick these up, that one or the other of these lots would actually develop into a little tiny commercial business?
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, that's in my mind, as we're just thinking about doing this, the idea of having a nail shop or something pop up there, just.
You can go right up to the property line on it, and the property is 10,890 square foot total. You can get about 30 parking spots on it if you decide to, let me say, if you want to go parking lot there also.
Yeah, if I may, we did a little research on that. Short answer, yes, another commercial business or property could develop. There are no height restrictions on that land, and there are no setback requirements. So any edifice that is constructed there could go right up to the sidewalk and essentially as high as they'd like.
Other questions? Before I call for the vote, I'll just echo the point that Mark made in this conversation. I joked with Brad when we were having this conversation that after this purchase, I was looking forward to being out of the downtown property acquisition business as a transportation authority. It's not what we're here to do, but for exactly the reason Mark pointed out, I think our ability to control that corner and our destiny there is really important for the future success of the downtown facility, but also I'm kind of amazed, given the fact that they're about to break ground on the Ovation right across the street, and given the fact that the number of offers that might have been made on this property, that we're able to get it for this amount. And I'd rather lock that down now and then control our own destiny there than leave it to the vicissitudes of whatever happens in the future. So, Mark?
I'm only responding to what the chair has just said, to disagree slightly. I'm hoping we're in the real estate purchasing business again in a few years, get moving more of our Tranter Street operations to someplace that makes more sense for us.
That's right in that.
You could say downtown.
That's
so
downtown.
maybe-
Thanks
I mean,
for triggering him.
Yeah, no problem.
I don't mean on that block, but kind of in the greater downtownness of Lansing. I kind of hope there's some place that eventually we'll be doing bus maintenance.
A fair point, Commissioner Gretner. But hopefully for the moment, in that block, where we can be beyond this. So are there any other comments or discussion? Jana?
And I'll just add, and it's sort of real estate oriented in that sense, like that we locking this down and having this, I think having that control, we may choose to have something go in next to us. There may be great wraparound services. They may be a great partner or something, or we may have other uses. So, I think this is a great opportunity to do that. And which it would require some real estate. Sorry.
I mean, again, if nothing else, I think the strength here is at that price point, controlling our own destiny there is the real advantage of this. Any other questions or discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That motion carries. The agreement has been approved.
Thank you, Jeff. Andrew.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks, Andrew. That brings us to old business. There is no noticed old business to come before the authority board this evening. Likewise with new business, which brings us to our second and final public comment opportunity. This is the time we set aside at each of our meetings to take comment on any item related to CATA business, not limited to those that are on our agenda this evening. Same parameters as before. We ask that you please consider filling out a blue card to assist our secretary and that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. We'll have a timer to assist you with that. I haven't had any cards submitted in advance, so I'll just ask, is there anyone who wishes to offer public comment at this second and final opportunity this evening? You bring the mic over. He'll bring the mic to you.
Thank you, Board of Directors. I'm scheduled to, I was fired in May of this year. And I collected unemployment. And I guess because the work rule that I violated, oh, here it is. Okay, so it, let's see. I was fired as a bus operator. The charge was falsifying my timesheet, which was priority or so prior to May 8th. So I was fired on May 8th, and I changed my garage time to reflect the arrival of the CATA bus, which I came in late. I came in at 13:24. And the director of operations is saying that when I came in on camera at 13:21, after parking and securing the bus, it was 13:24.21. So, and that's what I put on my run sheet. So my run sheet reflected exactly what I did that evening. Now, the document in the work rule that he says I violated was falsifying my timesheet. I don't have time to go into the work rules, but anyway, the falsifying the timesheet, that wasn't what I did. I changed my run sheet and my, when we do this hearing next week, next Wednesday, it's in front of Stephen Brown judge. And it's a telephone hearing. I just want this to be an honest, if CATA goes to or is on the phone call, I want this to be an honest, I guess, an honest display of what I did from CATA. Because I've experienced from CATA a lot of deception, a lot. So my question is, in the work rules, where does it say that the clock stops when I get into the garage? Parking at the pumps is what the union person said. And the operations director said the same thing. So where does the clock stop? And also, what is the difference between a timesheet and a run sheet? I filled out the run sheet. I did not fill out a timesheet. So in the language of the work rules, that's a problem for me. And I'm going to present that to the judge because it's next week. And I feel that I'm entitled to unemployment benefits. I didn't collect unemployment. Just a couple of months, I collected unemployment and then I'm teaching right now. So
I apologize for
schools.
interrupting, but your time's expired and we appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to offer public comment at this second and final opportunity this evening? All right, seeing none and there being no further business to come before the board, our November meeting is adjourned at 4:38 p.m. Thank you all.
How are you?